My name is 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐴. I'm the head of Wealth at Absa Bank Mauritius Limited. Welcome to our Wealth series. I'm joined here today by Segun, the head of coverage for the wealth business here in Mauritius, and we're going to discuss with Segun about customer experience. So Segun, welcome.
Thanks, Jason.
So my opening question is as follows. In this business of wealth, every touch point where a client is involved is intentional. From an Absa perspective, how are you translating this into the actual client experience? What are the things you're doing to make sure that everywhere that this client is touching the bank, that touch point is a special experience?
Thanks, Jason. I'd like to start by talking about client experience and what I think are the key elements that make it up. You have people, technology, the product, and obviously the processes that you follow in order to make a client experience one that is memorable. And at Absa Wealth, we think of client experience from the point of view of making memorable experiences for the customer. And we like to draw parallels with industries where client experience really differentiates, service industries particularly, where client experience differentiates one performer from another. One that comes very quickly to mind is the hotel industry. If you think about the hotel industry and luxury hotel brands, what do they do differently that make them stand out? They remember the customer. You go into a proper hotel one time, they'll remember the brand of tea you had. They'll remember how you wanted your bed made. They'll remember the brand of how you wanted the room to smell, for example. So thinking about client experience through the lens of remembering what your customer liked, preferred, through the lens of the people that serve, the product or the solution that you're offering, and then technology enabling this together with processes that seamlessly connect all this, from my point of view, is how you can really differentiate any service offering in the eye of a customer and deliver world-class customer experience from that.
All right. Thank you. So just picking up on that, there's an undertone in your answer about personalization. And we hear very much about personalized surveys, tailor-made, bespoke, etc. So what is Absa Wealth doing with regards to personalization while keeping in balance, of course, everything that needs to be balanced in the business of wealth? So you offer personalization, but at the same time, making sure that the guidelines, that the processes, everything stays in place. So how do you bring all of this together when it comes to the customer?
So when I look at two important elements of a customer's experience, influenced by the people and the technology that delivers the solution, personalization for me is using technology to remember preferences, for example, of your customers. So at Absa Wealth, you would have a system that will tell you what this customer typically tends to do, tends to buy, maybe where they like to go. And then you have a person who's regularly recording this, and then using technology, you're able to constantly refresh that experience for the customer. Just giving you an example again, and I like to draw parallels, Jason, from industries where service is so important. You go into your favorite airline, for example, whether it's the business class lounge or you're flying business class, as an example. And the first day you order a particular type of sparkling water. Typically what you'd find would happen is in the best of these airlines, the next time you fly, they call you by name and they remember the brand of sparkling water that you liked. Now, this is not because the person who served you is so good and they remembered you completely. They were enabled by technology that helped them record what your preference was, and then subsequently, whenever you booked again, it prompted them. So they knew Jason is showing up, and Jason liked this type of sparkling water. And how does that make you feel when somebody remembers exactly what you wanted? It's the same thing we're striving for at Absa Wealth, knowing our customers deeply, but we know that people are not going to be perfect to remember every single detail all the time. So they have technology enabling them.
All right, thank you. Now, I'm going to pick up on a word that you use, which is feel. And feelings are extremely important. So if you take field, you push it a bit together, it's about emotional connections. What is Absa Wealth doing to create those emotional connections with customers? Because it seems like it is not something simple. Everybody is different, everybody connects differently. So how do you create this emotional connection with your client base? How do you do that on an individual basis? How does that happen?
So there are a number of ways you could create an emotional connection, but the one that comes close to mind right now is when you are in or with a customer at a critical point or a critical decision that they need to make. Give you an example. I have a customer whose daughter is going to university in another town. And potentially, because Absa is such a big network and we know people across the network, you would have connections in that town that the child is going to university in. So creating an emotional connection at that point is using your network, for example, to make a recommendation of perhaps places you should live, shops you should go to, the types of entertainment that are available in that location, and then putting that in a nice message and sharing it with that customer because you took a cue from knowing your customer. That's the power of people and the power of a network that you can leverage to create an emotional bond or an emotionally resonant occurrence with that customer. So the key thing for us is looking at those critical moments in a customer's journey, in the customer's life experience that allow you to make an impression. That is what we strive for.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a belief, and certainly something that I ascribe to an extent, that true luxury lies in effortless. And when we talk about effortless, we're talking about simplicity, intuitive, and reassuring our clients reassuring our most discerning clients, if I can put it like that. So, in an age of complexity, it's not easy, to conduct business. It's increasingly regulated. It's increasingly, challenging, competitive. How do you deliver this effortlessness, if I can put it like that?
Okay, that's a challenging one. However, I'll borrow from, again, technology and in a world of infinite choice. I've once heard it said before that customers or people generally don't thrive well with many choices. However, they do want to be more confident in the decisions they're making with the choices you give them. So what we try to do is not to give you an infinite world of choice, which fosters complexity, but to make you more confident in the decisions you're making with the choices that we curate for you. Remember, when we started the conversation, I said client experience, or customer experience rather, evolves around four things, right? The people, and we've talked a bit about that, technology, enabling the people, but products and solutions are one area where complexity and wealth does come through. And it's important because it's finances, right? And there's regulations, there's tax, and there's a number of things to consider. What we try to do is to lay it out in a simple way. Either we do it ourselves or we do it with partners to make you, a customer, more confident in the choices that you're making with us. That's an example of simplicity that we bring to the fore. I can give you an example, Jason, to just bring this even further home. Once had a client who was selling their business. And that's emotive. You built a business over many years and you're trying to exit. So it's a large financial event for you. There's so many things to consider. There's investment bankers, there's tax, there's lawyers. And how does a private bank or wealth manager come in this now? We understand this because we have the right network. So we created a chart for the customer to show them clearly the steps that they had to go to. Again, not giving them so many choices, but limiting it to things that they could easily follow. Made it visual, made it intuitive, and did all the background work. So at the end of the day, the customer knew I'm doing a complex thing, but through our network and connections, we were able to make it simple in presentation. And the customer felt, okay, this was quite easy at the end of the day.
All right, thank you. Segun, thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. You've got a very challenging mission in front of you, but best of luck and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jason.